evening. This is Business Today on ChannelEye. On this program, we discuss about business, entrepreneurship and much more. So keep tuning in to today's episode as well whilst we discuss business today. We're going to discuss about impact investing in Sri Lanka and entrepreneurship as well. And to do so, we have with us the chairman of the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing in Sri Lanka. And to know more about who this individual is, let's have a look at the character profile.
Chandula Abeywikrema is the co-founder of Atpawara, the first ever TV reality show for social entrepreneurs and impact investors in Sri Lanka, telecasting on the largest national TV network. He is also the founder and chairman of Lanka Impact Investing Network, which is the first of its kind agency on impact investing with the purpose of investing in existing and emerging social enterprises, promoting social entrepreneurship across Sri Lanka. Lynn founded the first ever social impact funds in Sri Lanka in partnership with the UNDP and launched a platform dedicated for women social entrepreneurs and that promotes gender lens investing. An accomplished and respected senior commercial banker with lead expertise and experience in retail and development banking, Chandula has a proven track record of over 30 years and is recognized in Sri Lanka and Asia as an expert in financial inclusion. Chandula spearheaded the retail and development banking strategy as the Deputy General Manager of Hatton National Bank. He has provided management and strategic directors of HNB's SME and microfinance portfolio, for which he was responsible. He has served as the CEO of CCC Solutions, the project management arm of Ceylon Chamber of Commerce from 2014 to 2015, as a consultant strategy and marketing for National Savings Bank from 2016 to 2017 and Regional Development Bank 2020. Chandula has participated in numerous international engagements as an expert in the area of financial inclusion and is the current chairman of the Banking with the Poor Network, Asia's largest microfinance network. He was also appointed by the Asian Bankers Association as the advisor on financial inclusion to ABA. He is the chairman of CSR Sri Lanka, the national apex body for corporate social responsibility, representing the largest number of private sector companies.
Mr. Chandula, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and to start off this discussion, I'd like to ask you to tell me a bit about the Lanka Impact Investing Network.
So Lanka Impact Investing Network, which I founded mainly with the purpose of creating access to private equity for social enterprises and entrepreneurs. That's started because I felt way back, I've been a banker almost nearly 4 decades and in the space of financial inclusion as well as banking in Sri Lanka, in Asia and a little bit in global engagement. And I felt that there is an absolute need to create access to private equity for micro and small and medium level entrepreneurs in this country.
Okay.
And because this country is more driven through loans and the finances, which is high cost for an entrepreneur to really steer an enterprise. Right. So with that objective, I founded this entity. And we want to really create an impact investing fund to have access to private equity for these Sri Lankan entrepreneur enterprises, particularly social enterprises. And we also co-founded the Atpawara, the first ever TV reality show that created access to private equity, access to social entrepreneurs to come and present their enterprise on a reality program.
Great. And what about the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing in Sri Lanka? Brief definition.
Yeah, so National Advisory Boards are steered and set up by the initiative of the Global Steering Group for Impact Investing. Now, Global Steering Group is a huge global entity founded by Sir Ronald Cohen, a very well-respected personality, a British citizen, but engaged in a number of global areas. He's very well-respected by the British government, G7 and G20. And he pioneered, as a result of a deliberation of G7, the setting up with this GSG, Global Steering Group for Impact Investing, with main purpose of facilitating impact capital across the world to the social enterprises. So now they have been embarking on setting up these national advisory boards in different countries that need this social entrepreneur to be blossom. So they currently have 35 countries globally. And I have been engaged with them for the last 6 years. During discussions, I met Sir Ronald Cohen also and many of their key team in the GSG. And we felt there is a need for us to have this entity set up here to get the global capital funds to move in here. So after 6 years of work, and I had my colleague Dr. Lalit Velamedage, who is also managing director, founder of Lanka Social Ventures. Together we worked tirelessly with the GSG team. And now I think we are now really in the place to kickstart the whole process of this organization, this entity that would really trigger so much of international global funds coming to Sri Lanka.
Right, and let's speak a bit about the benefits of establishing a national advisory board.
So the benefits is now, for instance, in Sri Lanka, I would say now, despite all the development at the commercial level, being a banker nearly about 4 decades, the entrepreneurship doesn't blossom here to a level where it can really create commercial viability, scalability, and business sustainability, unlike other countries. Because, I mean, despite the fact that the global institutions, multilateral agencies like the World Bank, the ADB, and all this engage, and the SMEs have never blossomed into a really key commercial enterprises sometimes. And that is mainly due to a fact that heavy dependent on the loans. Loans are very high price. And then in this sector, particularly apart from the corporate sector, in this sector, micro, small and medium, even the middle level commercial doesn't have access to private equity. So that's the reason that we felt that the time has come, if the entrepreneurships to blossom in this country at this level, and they graduate it to different levels, and ultimately reach the corporate level and make an impact for the country.
Right.
So we felt that there is a vacuum of this private equity side to the sector. I mean, Colombo Stock Exchange goes through the big guys. Share market, you create an institution and you go to share market and raise funds.
Right.
But there is a private equity need to be channeled to the entrepreneurs and enterprises.
Okay.
Despite nearly 80 years of work in Sri Lanka's entrepreneurship has not blossomed to a level that can trigger huge economic transformation like in Taiwan, like in South Korea, like in Japan, like in most of those countries have blossomed the entrepreneurship because of the fact that they have access to private equity and there are people who are really backing them. And here what we are looking at is having private equity channeled, global private equity is channeled to impactful entrepreneurs that really work on a social and environmental impact through their enterprise.
Okay. Now we know that this is an organization which handles a lot of responsibilities, like you just mentioned as well. How did you get to becoming the chairman of such an organization? Obviously you started somewhere, but how did you get here?
Yeah, so in my 40 years, I've been a banker, and from the banking sphere, I moved into the financial inclusion in the Asia, and then to globally on the area of impact investing side. Even now today, I'm the chairman of Banking with the Poor Network, which is the largest microfinance network, creating access to finance to micro entrepreneurs. I'm also the advisor on financial inclusion, the Asian Bankers Association, which is the largest commercial bank. Now, through this engagement, my overseas engagement continuously, I've been in dialogue, and and internationally, I mean, in Asia, in this sector, I'm known, and in globally, in this sphere, I'm fairly engaged with a number of people who are driving this space. So time to time that I've been asked by various international forums to rise up and move into their, I've been assisting some of the other countries like in Ghana, in other Asian countries, even Cambodia. I've been assisting many of initiatives and some of them, I've been in boards of some of those. So with that, GSG really placed on certain confidence and trust that I would be ideally can steer this as a leader and fulfill the most timely initiative for the country in the area of impact investing.
All right. Now, let's speak about the meaning of driving impact capital to fast-track the achievement of UN SDGs in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. So, firstly, there are 17 UN SDG goals that need to be achieved by 2030. There are a number of things that I want to highlight one by one. I think it's fairly well known. But more or less, there is an inclusivity that needs to come. The global poverty elevation is important, and the clean water, the sanitation, the access to food, access to all the resources that globally available to all the rich people is something which we need to make sure that through the global UNG these 17 goals, and also the bringing the sustainability aspect of through clean energy, so many things which can really be the environment. It's a society and the environment. So what happens is the primary objective of the UNDP sustainability goals is the creating the more conducive environment, and also the society more inclusive and enriched without any marginalization. So that's why they brought those things. And so now we need to really make sure that in a society, in a country, there are a wider group of stakeholders.
Okay.
It's not just only the governors or the rulers or the private sector or the public sector, the people sector, and also the whole environment factor. You know, the land and the trees and the water and the planet and all that is very important to us to kind of not only thrive but to survive.
Right.
So I think if you don't look after them, then you are really setting your days are getting numbered by yourself. So that's why we felt that all the stakeholders need to be equally treated.
Right.
Whether it's investors, whether it is society, whether it is the planet and the environment and the employees and the expert, all these people have to be equally treated. You can't sacrifice one for another. So I think we felt that the enterprises and the entrepreneurs has to be more social conscious. And that's why every organization, we felt that there has to be ultimately, now we are driving the social enterprise agenda, but I think all the corporates, businesses eventually has to be social entrepreneurs and enterprises.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you are benefiting from the society, you are benefiting from the environment, so you need to look after the environment.
Right.
So we want to make sure that global capital now, globally, I mean GSG is driving huge initiatives because the huge impact funds are available. In Sri Lanka, it's still we have seen few, but they are driven toward the commercial entities. So we want to make sure that these global impact funds come to Sri Lanka to create impact for the society and the environment, and partner with the enterprises and the entrepreneurs that are reaching that social impact and environmental impact through their products and services and their business practices and engagement. And one of the things what we want to do is, this impact capital is not loans.
Right.
These are equity, sometimes convertible instruments. Various financial instruments are there to make sure that the affordability, the accessibility and availability of these funds are available, so that at the end of the day, that the entrepreneurs as well as the enterprises have this access to this capital without much of a high cost. And thereby their products and services which they are delivering to the customers or to society would be affordable.
Right.
And enriching the society and empowering society in every aspect. That's what and through that we want to make sure that the society and the environment is enriched. Environment has to be enriched. Environment cannot be polluted, enriched. And even the society has empowered and enriched.
Right. And let's speak strategy when it comes to the global steering group for impact investing.
So, global steering group for impact investing globally, they are working with number of big government and government institution mechanism. Particularly, global steering group is very driving the agendas of G20 and G7.
Okay.
Now, G20, the most powerful countries are in the G20, and G7 is again the most powerful. Now, these countries have huge resources. I mean, they are the most developed countries, and they have huge resources, and the capital base are there, and you order all this, and Dr. Sir Ronald Cohen, as his vision and the drive is for that, to ensure that there is large amount of impact funds that is available in this G20 and G7 countries, and those things to be channeled to developing and developed countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America. So too, because these are the countries that need the economic and social and environmental empowerment and enrichment for people to reap the benefits of that society. So the strategy is basically, GSC strategy is setting up this national advisory boards, and through that ensuring that the national advisory boards will set up the conducive environment for the respective countries to flow the capital, because there are so many logistical things as well as regulatory, legal things that has to be in place in those respective countries. So once that is worked, then we can really bring those capital. Also, I mean, being a small country, ticket size of is an issue for us. Sometimes these global funds, their big investment ticket size is over 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, $100 million. Now we are talking about $500,000, 1 million, 2 million. So its ticket size is small. So according to that, we need to really cushion and lay the foundation and the platform, the mechanism to, so that draw even the small tickets, even for the small ticket size global impact funds.
Okay. And let's speak about the policy reforms to tap into the availability of impact capital.
So there are a number of challenges as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. I think one of the things what I did was when we promoted the TV reality show for social entrepreneurs and impact investors at Paura almost now 5 years ago, to create awareness of what is social entrepreneurship, what is impact investing. So still many people are not aware of that. Now what happens is generally investors are considered brutal, brutal investors. They want immediately put the money and return. But we need investors with patience. We need with capital which can invest and wait for return, dual returns, social returns and financial returns. So we need to really have a legal framework in place. I think we have been discussing with a number of public sector institution mechanisms. See, the problem is we don't have a respective policymakers understanding this subject well. So what we are initially working with is the private sector. And then once you showcase the impact of that, to draw the public sector, and then, I mean, we are working with number of universities, University of Peradeniya, University of Jaffna, University of Sabaragamu, so that, you know, we drive this across in that HT as well, you know.
Okay.
But there are a number of policies in the area of tax, in the area of when the capital is brought in, exiting the, taking the capital back, you know. So all those things are very, these are international capital. And then when they come, then they want to also exit. And they invest and they empower the organization, they exit and they move to another country, another Asian or African country. So all those things we need to really bring in place. I think we are one of the reasons for NAB is to work with in this area, work with the public sector and work with the policymakers to ensure these policies are now getting in place.
Okay. And what about facilitating partnership opportunities focused on impact investing?
So we are really working locally in Sri Lanka. We feel number of partners because the banking sector has been driving this entrepreneur development for a long period. I've been a banker, and mainly through bank loans, SMEs, and all these things, refinance schemes, and buy of the multilateral. They've been driving that. So the banks still have a role, a significant role for entrepreneur development, even in this current status, high rate of interest. But what happens is the entrepreneurs cannot blossom only through bank loans. That is why the private equity has to flow into it. And then when the private equity flows in, then when it, particularly international private equity, they would want the entrepreneurs and enterprises to showcase their performance in numbers. There has to be their finances has to be audited. So there will be tax things have to be committed. They're committed tax regimes, and their legal framework. And there are a number of things with connected. So we are trying to connect the partners in the area of legal side, the banking side, in the audit side, audit regulatory side. So on the area of regulation, on the area of facilitation, on the area of partly developing people's businesses, bringing various best business practices into the entrepreneurs. We are trying to work out the partners locally. Then we are internationally, GSG, and through the partnership we will bring number of other key technical as well as capital partners to facilitate this process.
Right. Now, as someone who has climbed the corporate ladder per se, you would have faced a lot of challenges, and you might have some advice ways of overcoming those challenges as well. So to the young entrepreneurs listening out there, what would be your advice? And let's speak a little bit about how you overcame some of your challenges.
Yeah, I think the journey of a leader is very challenging. And also what I would say, you have to really ready to make sacrifices. And you need to be ready any time to move vertically and horizontally. Okay. Now sometimes you think lead only go vertically, go up, up, up. But I think today's younger generation are not multi-skilled. Now in our generation, we have to do everything by ourselves. So we learn a lot of things. We are actually, now in my case, I can handle many things. I've been in many organizations. So multi-skilling is very important, not only language, but handling things. If you are a financer, you need to understand what is happening in the other respective areas. So you need to have that not only knowledge, the skill of multi-skilling is very important. So when I started, actually when my first job was, when I left the university, was as a management trainee at Ceylon Cold Stores, Elephant House. Okay. But I had the privilege of working in all areas, and that was really more than 4 years in the university. I learned valuable this thing because I worked from their bottling plant to essence factory to ice cream plant, all the frozen food manufacturing. So it's a kind of processing journey I experienced. So therefore I realized I need to really vertically, before I go vertically, I need to horizontally move. And when you move horizontally, you acquire knowledge, you acquire skill. And that's why a lot of young people don't do today. And I think, I started there, and then I moved to LLC and HNB, and I adopted different skills. And then I moved into Asian context. In Asia, you deal with so many other nationalities, not only Japanese or Cambodians, Indians, and Bangladesh. You need different skill, language, attitude to work with them. Right. And then I moved to global frontier and this side. So you need to change yourself. And you need to have the humility to submit your ego and learn things. That's why this thing. Sometimes you are arrogant, will not take you anywhere. So I think what I have gained is, as a result of, I need to acquire more skills, more knowledge. I moved horizontally, and then do that horizontally, you need to have humility. You need to be humble enough. And you need to recognize that once you do that, you are ready to move up vertically, step by step. Now what happens is, what I think is, we need to make sure that if you want move vertically up, you need to make sure that if you can't move step by step, even inch by inch, in the right direction, not on the wrong direction. So you need to do the right thing, because what happens is the younger generation want quick results. Younger generation won't make things, everything through the computer, and you were looking at the iPad or iPhone or something like that.
Yeah.
But today, the problems are in the society is the grassroots level. So if you don't have your feet on the ground, your ears to hear the noise or the sound of the people, you will never go anywhere. That's very important. So I always make sure that my feet on the ground, my ears are open to the sound of the people, then I move horizontally, and then step by step move vertically, and then you begin to see the big picture. And when you begin to see the big picture, you begin to see eye to eye with people. And then you can reach the levels that you want and designed by you for your destination.
Right. Thank you so much for the valuable advice. That was Mr. Chandula Abeywikrema, the Chairman of the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing in Sri Lanka. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And that winds up today's program of Business Today. Do join us next time as well. Till then, good night.